something I had to weave out of bark and grass, but I can come back out of that woods because I know how. And you know what? Before we rubbed them out, every single human being in this state and every state independently fed themselves at the time of reproductive age. Everyone, 100%. And now, how many? None. 1%. And they're 80, 90 years old. And they were screaming at us every step of the way, and we would not listen. The beads, the trinkets, the mirrors, the $24. It's not like I still don't. Half the people in the movement seem to be military that understand wholesale mass extinction very well and understand the absolute truth. If you want to defeat an enemy, you cut off the food and the fuel. Our food is gone in China, and the fuel's coming from Saudi Arabia, and if you don't think that isn't knowledgeable, control the oil, control the money. Control the food, control the people. Henry Kissinger. But he is only quoting a deeper plan. And there is a horrible logic. If you are in that position of power, and you are faced with pulling the plug with 7 billion people rather than 10 or 20 or 30, and there's not even termites left to eat, and there's nothing left, you are in a Hobbesian choice. But if you have people of inordinate or pathological ambition, that means the amount of conscience that's brought to this equation is missing altogether. I cannot conquer Europe with farm boys. Napoleon. We do not understand Napoleonic genius / evil. We do not comprehend it. We have families. We have hearts. We are sympathetic. We pray for Muslims. We pray for terrorists. We do the right things. We go through the motions, but we're lacking the grid of evil. Sheltered by the hidden, the shadows. We float around on the surface of things and hope to God that the next tornado isn't us, or the next bank foreclosure isn't us, or the next firing isn't us. Whatever it is, we hunker down deeper and deeper and deeper until the fear of it, people fill their basements with ammo, and they sight in their scopes on their mailboxes. One man said, my buddy came up and said, he said to him, "Are you planting a garden?" He said, "No, I'm not that crazy, man." He says, "Besides, I'm coming to your house, when it hits the fan." And the guy says, "For what?" "Well, for your food, of course. You'll share with me." And the man just said, "I'm not. If you're coming to share with me, we'll sit down and share. If you're coming to take something from me, I'm going to drill you between the eyes at my mailbox." And these are conversations. They're harsh. And people just like Obama and Leiter and all of these people that in their own sphere are reasonable, and they love their children, and they have fears like ours. They do not understand the greater structure of the evil of these times. They do not understand the weather or the seasons. They can't read what's coming down, only that they believe they are in control. And at all costs. The explanations now, coming from politicians, are part of the crime itself. They're structured. The criminality now is so far gone and so pervasive because there is no compass at the top other than we, the state and human beings, are the supreme arbiters of, and this goes back to the thief and then the lie. And then everything we do as social institutions to cover it up when we abandon genuine compassion, jubilee, let the fields fall fallow, leave something for the poor. The man that harvests everything and leaves nothing for the gleaners. Take care of the widow. What Jesus was continuously talking about the poor, taking care of them. And Paul, even Paul says, I'm for the poor. The poor call themselves the poor. It's not because they're poor in material things. It's because they're humble. The impoverished man is the humble man, the penitent man, the man that has lost pride, who has taken on the world and been elevated up and then thrown down. This is a fall from which I believe we are meant to recover. And only by falling could we then turn like the prodigal son back to true perspective and understand that we're not in control of anything. I'm not controlling my heartbeat. I'm not controlling my digestion, the cell division, or the breath in my body, or when I was born, or when I'm going to die, or the number of hairs on my head. Guys, pride isn't just in position and what we have now come to think of pride. It's a biological understanding. It's cellular. It's a kind of submission to the will. He wasn't a Christian. But when Gandhi saw the man in the gun, as the bullet entered his chest, he said, "Hi, God." Here to me is the essence of Christianity in one sentence. From my background, and I'd say this to any human being, I could be wrong, but I do not think there is anything that you can do or say that can ever make me feel separate from you. If we give people the power to make us feel separate from them, divide them along their political or religious or socioeconomic beliefs, and now who are they working for? The essence of the Bible I know, of the preacher who was with the prostitutes and the wine bibbers, in preference to the bankers, the lawyers, the publicans, and yes, the Pharisees and Sadducees of his time, and we've got lots of them now. Because no one, including the Pharisees, this was the source of the power, is nothing they could do was big enough to make Jesus feel separate from them, even on a cross. Now that is simple. Anytime you're feeling upset or angry or loss or any of this, my question is, feeling separate? And you would be surprised at the power of that question, to bring people back to their senses and understand and reorient it to the higher nature. We have higher nature, lower nature. That's the plight of operating through an animal form. It's a form. It's a mammalian form. So we have this nature of matter, mater, the mother, and Pitra, Padre, the Father, who art in heaven. And there's a beautiful balance. The mother instructs us through the seasons, through nature, through the harvest, and we were kicked out. This is my belief. One we stole, and then we lied about it, and then there was consequences. That's all that the whole Bible is, just about consequences of what happens when you steal and lie. Fundamentally, then you go on to kill to cover up your theft and lives. And then, the radical nonviolence of Jesus is just, well, there's just wars and there's all this stuff, and we get off into these lengthy explanations, none of which I ever heard Jesus saying, even on the cross. Anyway, back to the story. If we are feeling separate about anything, we are divided from the all-pervading one. One great light shines through us all. If we could see the one in everyone and practice that. I don't feel separation from this book, but that angry man coming at me and ranting and raving about some political misstatement I might have made, he's trying to make me feel separate. That's the power of anger, right? You express anger to try to separate yourself from or separate somebody from yourself. That's all it is. It's a plus-minus equation. Everything we do is, in a way. But if we can grasp the simple psychology of who we are being, we're feeling at one with everything, at peace with our child on the knee, or with that pineapple upside-down cake, or the canning we're having, and with these hot, sweaty people that are all overaged and middleweight. And we've had canning sessions with 15 people at a time in a kitchen here. So it's not everybody is not listening. A great many people would not only listen, but they would take that next step of empowerment if we show up. If we just show up and don't give up. There's this group over in Theodosia, just called it, yeah, we're putting in a local food restaurant and we're putting in a local grocery store. What? I just found out. I didn't know. There was a group that heard about us and they've started up on their own. That's what I mean. Non-hierarchical, grassroots, common sense. And I'm not saying you deliberately get taken advantage of or lose everything you've got or take with the friendly, with the happy people, be friendly. With the suffering, be compassionate, With the righteous, rejoice. With the evil, indifference. That means you don't get divided by them. You don't give them attention, but you don't differ from the evil. But rather think, probably what that fellow is going through now and doing to others, I might have once been like that. I learned my lesson, paid a big penalty. Now I won't do that anymore. And you say the prayer. May he learn his lessons well. May he get through them speedily. May he not create so much destruction that his burden is heavy, But if we take the attitude that every fault I can see in another human being, I see it probably because I have that or had that, and I'm working with it. Again, quoting a non-Christian, Gandhi, but these are Christ-like statements. And you read what he said about Christ. Some people think he was a better Christian than most of us. He said, "I will blame and judge no man for the weaknesses that I, as a human being, also share." What a discipline. And look at our politics, which is nothing but garbage, and they're calling people whores and sluts and things, and no one's calling each other, and the degeneration of our language and our thought. To a keen person, a keen observer, that alone would be enough to be heading for the exits as fast as you can get yourself and your family out of here. That alone would be enough to watch the manipulation, the tools, and the art of separation practiced in the name of politics, in the name of religion, in the name of anything you want. But underneath it all is the primal separation in which we own rather than God owns. So naturally the debasement of the money and the theft upon theft upon theft. And we are so complicit in this. Yes, Galen, you have to be practical. Well, state of Utah is now trying to get their own money, gold and silver. They are at least cohesive enough. They're not probably going to agree with much of what I've said, but I welcome the discussion. I'm still learning. I would welcome the discussion on any of these points. The frustrating part is the silence. Just the silence. It's the well of silence. This is the third time now, 3 letters in a row. I've broadcast to how many? Tens of thousands of people. 100,000. However many people get that need. What if we have to feed ourselves again? Silence. First time it was just, I will debate an academician, a politician, an electrician, I don't care, a Confucian, anybody that will get up and have an informed discussion so that we together can find the truth of what it's going to take. In the absence of any PhD of 3 universities in this city, of anybody willing to do this, I just calculate the food deficit. I've calculated how many, it's 2.5 million pounds of food a day are shipped into this city. And when I was a child, multiples of that were shipped out after we fed ourselves. This is one adult lifetime. I'm trying to telescope all of this. It is happening. This collapse is coming. We are collapsing like the Twin Towers, guys. We just haven't hit bottom. And I hope that if someone is listening out there, if you've got a friend in Missouri or Springfield, tell them to get on this program and start paying attention and start listening here. But then again, a prophet is not in his own...
received in his own hometown.
In his own hometown. And believe me, the powers that be behind the entrenched status quo, moneyed interest, and we have 80 or 83 members of the Barons Club here in Southwest Missouri. That's a 100 million plus network. You don't think they're fighting tooth and nail to make sure that nothing changes? So you get this 20-year plan for the city as if nothing in the world is going to change. It's going to be cheap Saudi oil, and in 20 years they want to have 20% of the food locally grown. What about the 80% of the rest of us, guys? This is not a vision of the future. It's an extrapolation of the present, which is growth, progress, and controlled by the moneyed elites. And we are so culturally embedded to this, and this is the heartbreak. A very bright man, self-made man, probably a millionaire. He's got the house that, you can fit this in his living room. I went out and looked at a beautiful piece of property. He says, Galen, I'm going to try to fix this up. I'm going to get my kids here. And then nothing. The phone went dead. Nothing. He was ready to move. Then I heard from a relative, he went home. His wife said, over my dead body. I'm not giving up the country club, this home, the Mercedes, and the status. It's a divorce. You bring this up again, and you're going to be looking at a divorce buster. I got mine. So here you have someone, and so it's that sword that divides brother against brother, husband against wife, child against father and mother. It's the sword of truth. The truth isn't a belief system. It's not an indoctrination, which is to fill somebody with a set of reference points. It's the kingdom at hand. It's pointing out to the empty grain towers, the fallow and wasted fields, the polluted rivers, on all of this, and say, what have we done to his creation? And at first you'll be blown away. But I'm like a child. I just keep asking the question, plowing the beach with a lamp in broad daylight, simply looking for answers to 8-year-old question, 4-year-old question, what have we done to his creation? Why are Christians throwing Christians out into this tornadic weather? Today, 15, 20 more families were thrown out onto the streets with nothing. Everyone's back is turned to them. $30,000 in fireworks. I've been to shows, I've been to ministries here in which you've got this Hollywood kind of dude in blue jeans strutting with a microphone, and every once in a while they quote a little snippet of Jesus, but that's just in between the entertainment. Looks like they cut me off.
No, we're good.
Oh, that's good. I think I'm way over the time, and you've got more things to tell people, and this was supposed to be a gardening show, but it's because I couldn't make this rally against the feds, trying to string this guy up for his kid selling rabbits. So I can hear you. Feeling separate? Yes, I still feel separate, and I still work with that, but not to anyone involved. Not to the USDA guys down there where the rally was going to held, not to the federal quislings that have to do their job. It's going to take a while to appeal to conscience in them or to stir one up or grow one. I really believe that were we living closer to the plan, and since our government allows it, here's just one idea. I'll throw out one more since you're giving me time. This whole border thing, this whole dispute, because we've ruined their economy, and it's been Spain has had a stranglehold. It was one of the richest places on earth. How come it's the richest places on earth? Mexico, the silver, the gold, the resources, and people are struggling. How come we are and everybody's going down? How come? There are people responsible for this. Can't we name names? How about Morgan Stanley? How about J.P. Morgan? How about Bank of America? How about the faceless, nameless elites hidden in their castle so this government can protect them from the wrath of the people as it continues to steal us blind? Because the moral weaknesses of men are what they buy into. So a man of a great ambition and a love of wealth, I'm going to make money no matter what. If it's not money in it, I'm not in it. It's just philanthropy. It's stupid. You people go out there and grub around. That's fine. We need that stuff. But I was put on this earth to do whatever I want. Doesn't mean they don't have some things to say or some truths there. I'm just saying they are utterly deluded people. And yet you turn on the TV, that's who's worshipped, that's who's running, that's who's the guys that fix things, those are the go-to people. I'm not talking about anyone specifically, but I'm saying our indoctrination is so deep and our reference points are so bereft of something bigger than us and bigger than government and bigger of hierarchy. which is Caesar, which is Pharaoh, which is man-instituted. We're not taking literally. People say they're biblical literalists, and they still work in the system. I'm saying, what about the graven images you use? The blood-drenched with your name of your God on it, profaned, and you're a biblical literalist? I don't think so. Again, well of silence. Love to have these discussions, and I think I'm meeting some people that bring their life experiences. They've come through it. They've got the arrows in the back. They've lost everything. Former superintendent of schools I met. I'm interested in this man. His name is Gregory.
Gregory Thompson.
Yeah, he says he's taken the vow of poverty. I said, what? He was superintendent of schools up there. Humansville.
I was not to blow my own horn, I was the first person to interview Gregory after he got fired.
This man stands his ground. And he brings these books, and he takes free will donations, but he doesn't sell them. The same way I go where I do because people give me money for gas. The car I came over in here, they put me on their insurance and said, here's the keys, you just let me know. There are people out there. They are beginning to understand the power of poverty, the power of Acts 2, the power of a frame of reference that's bigger than Mammon and Moloch. They see this because of the failure of all government. When men are not self-governing within it, when the republic that we were given, gentlemen, I give you freedom, if you can keep it. Yeah. And that's the last thing I'll say. Maybe there'll be something else the next week. And I apologize to all those that might be listening, waiting to know more about gardens, but it's all of one piece. It's one cloth. You are gardening your freedom and your future with every seed you plant, and keep those seeds. Baker Creek has got a preemptive lawsuit with 60 other small seed companies against Monsanto to stay in business. They're desperately fighting to stay in business, so that they're preemptively suing Monsanto, so that if the pollen from Monsanto, the GMO pollen, gets in their seeds, their businesses won't be shut down and their fields bulldozed at their own expense. Yeah. Order 81, Paul Bremer, Iraq. In Iraq, if the pollen is in your field, the government can also bulldoze your home and your tools and destroy your livelihood. That's our government. Control the oil, control the food. We think it's all about oil, and they've kept us distracted beautifully until now. We, the people, can't even feed ourselves and don't even know how. We've lost millennia of knowledge, treasured one with our lives, with our very lives over centuries, to know how to wrest this from nature and the violence. We've got to get a crop with tornadoes going out here, guys. Hailstorms have just wiped out farmer after farmer. Yep. And to do this, we have to self-insure. Free people self-insure each other with biblical principles, with compassion, and make sure the poor and the widow and everybody else is treated as your neighbor. Hence, I'll end with our motto: your best defense against hard times or the end times is a well-fed neighbor. That well-fed neighbor will be praying for you and blessing you and not cursing you and screaming and scheming with his last breath on the last day, on Judgment Day. So that's it for today for me. I'm about
awesome job, buddy.
All poured out.
Let me ask you one question. Now that you've heard, what are you going to do? Now that you've heard, what are you going to do? Be curious to hear back from some of you on that. All right. Galen, bless you, buddy. Be well, and we will reconvene a week from now and talk about bunnies and politics and food and all that good stuff. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're coming up to our